Hello and welcome to Datacasts. If you're wondering what you're looking at right now, this is a photo of me and my dog Moss that I took a few days ago. In this video we're going to be taking this file, which is, as you can see here, a .heic file, and we're going to convert it into either a PNG or a JPEG using R. Now these .heic files, these are the files that you get when you export photos from your iPhone, for example. So if I wanted to share this photo with others, there may be some services where perhaps I can't do that because of this file format. They might only accept PNGs or JPEGs. So we want to be able to convert it. Before I begin with the R script, I'm just going to head over to Google and I'm just going to sort of look up how I can do this. So convert .heic to .png, for example. And yeah, I can see there are some options online to convert the file using these services. The problem with this is I don't really want to upload my own personal content into these cloud-based services, because I don't want them to keep copies of the files. I don't want them to use them for AI training or anything like that. I'd rather just keep it on my own machine. And so that is why using a solution such as an R script can be quite useful in our context. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And the way we're going to do it is to use this excellent R package, which is called Magick. And I'll put a link down in the description to this page here on R OpenSci, so you can read all about the package. We're only going to use a small number of functions from the package because it's actually easier than you think to convert the HEIC file to a PNG. But to begin, if we just sort of scroll down a little bit into, if I click on image IO and then we have read and write. So the first thing we're going to need to do is actually read in this this image that we have, and we can see that images can be read directly from a file path with image data with image_read. So the first thing we're going to do is use image read to read in the file. So I'm just going to flip over to RStudio, and you can see here in my file pane that I already have the .heic file right here ready to go. So let's try reading that in. So I'm just going to create a variable called img. Of course we need to load in the actual library. So I'm assuming here that you've already installed the Magick package, but I've already got it. So I can just go ahead and do image_read and then the file name. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on rename here so I can just copy the file name. And then I'm just going to pop that into quotation marks, and I'm just going to run this just to see if that worked. And it seems to have. I can see here in the environment I have this variable which is external pointer of class Magick image. So that looks right. It looks like Magick has read in the image, which is great. Now I can see that this HEIC file is actually pretty big. It's 1.6 megabytes, so it's quite a large file. So it might be a good idea to resize this, because if we are going to share this elsewhere, say via email or in Slack or Teams or something like that, then we don't want to be sending enormous 1.5 megabyte files, right? So we want to make this a bit smaller. There's actually an easy way to do that using Magick. It's actually a function called image_resize, and then we pass that variable of image. And then we can say, so as a string, you can just pass something like 800x, which means that it'll set the width to 800. So again, if I run all of that, and then you can see that it just pops out here in the viewer. So if I click there to open it in the browser, I can already see that this image is a lot smaller than my original version, so that looks much better. And then the last thing I need to do is actually export this back out as a PNG, and again that is surprisingly easy. So I'm just going to name this as resized_image, so I can save that to a variable, and then I can pass image write. And again I just pass my variable name which contains the resized image. And then I'm going to give it a file name, so I'm just going to say me and moss.png. So you can see that I'm already giving it the file type. And then I need to specify the format as PNG. I'm saying that I want it to be in a PNG format. I'm just going to run the whole thing, so Shift, Command and Enter. And now if I look in my files pane, you can see I've got this new file here, meandmoss.png, which is a much smaller file. It's less than half the size of the original. And if I click to open that, well, in the background here is the .heic, but here is the PNG version, which is exactly what we wanted. So that's great. There's nothing wrong with this script. It does the job. But this isn't the only file I want to change format, right? If I want to do this over and over again, then I want to make this a bit easier. And also I want to create it in such a way that it's easier for you to use as well. So we're going to do a bit of refactoring here. We're actually going to refactor this, these lines here as a function. And we're going to give the user some additional options in that function. So below the code we've already written, I'm going to create a new function called reformat_image. So that is a function. And I'm going to pass an argument of file path because we can't assume that the file is going to be in the same location as this script. So the user is going to need to say this is where the file is located. We're actually going to give them some options when it comes to the format. So what we can do here is we can pass PNG and JPEG as two of the options we'll allow for the format. So they could do PNG or JPEG. And then we also want to give them the option of setting a size. But by default, we will go with that 800x size that I thought was kind of fine as a default. So we have this function, reformat image. The user is going to need to point to where the file is located. They need to specify whether they want to reformat that file to a PNG or a JPEG. And optionally, they can state what they want the file to be resized to, but by default, it will be 800, width of 800 pixels. All right, first of all, we need to enforce that formatting option. So we're going to say assign format to match.arg, and then we're going to pass the format argument. So this is just saying that the user needs to pass either PNG or JPEG as the format argument, and that's what we're going to be matching against. And if we can't match against those things, then it's going to throw an error. So that just enforces that. And then we're going to need to do our image_read to read the file. And we're just going to pass file path here because that will be the full path to the file. But rather than assigning that to variable, we're just going to pipe that because, so you can see here in the earlier lines, we were just passing that variable name into the next one, and then we're passing this variable into that one. So thus a pipe is just a shorthand for that. So next up will be our image resize. And we'll pass size as the argument there. So by default, that will be 800x. And then we will pass that. So we're passing the resized image into image_right. And what are we going to call the file? So what we'll do here is we'll just keep it simple and we'll call the file the same thing as the original file. But obviously the format's going to be slightly different. And we'll save it in the folder where the script is located so the user can see it from where they're working, and then they can move it to wherever they want to afterwards. So to do this, we need to grab the name of the original file, and then we need to add the format. So we need to do some concatenation with paste 0, and then to extract the file name, we will call base name on the file path. So the user passes the full file path, and we just grab the file name from that, because it is only then that we pass the extension. So we need dot, and then we need the format, which is either going to be a PNG or a JPEG. And that's it. We've just sort of refactored all of this code into this function. So I'm going to remove these original lines. And now I'm going to just restart R with Control Shift and 0 on my Mac, just to make sure that we clear the environment so I can see that the environment is empty. And I'm going to run this script, this file. So now it's loaded up that function, which means that I can run that function. So down in my console, I'm going to call that function that we just created. So reformat image. I'm going to pass the name of this file. So again, I'm just going to quickly copy the file name. So in our case, the file is located right here where the script is located. So we can just pass the file name, but in your case it might be that it's in a different folder, so you might need to do something like path/to/folder/ and then the name of the image itself. But ours is right here, so we don't need to do that. Then the second argument is going to be what we can convert it to. So we already converted to PNG, so I'm going to convert to JPEG this time and see if that works. And then the size, I'm going to leave the size as is, so I'm not going to pass the third argument. And then I'm going to hit enter. So down here I can see that we do have the file. Now I've made one small error here, because when we call base name, it does actually include the file type. Now if I click on this, it does work, and it is a JPEG, but it's named the file, the name of the original file, .heic, then .jpeg. So it is a JPEG, but it's a bit confusing that we have the original HEIC file type in here when we call base name. So ideally we do want to remove that. So let's try and do this in the simplest way possible. We'll use a function from base R. So before we jump into our pipe, what we'll do is we'll create a variable called file name, and then we will call sub str, so substring, and then we will pass file path. Actually, we will pass base name of file path. So remember, this is returning the name of the file with the file extension, and we're saying that we're going to start from 1, but we're going to end on mchar base name file path -4. There's quite a lot going on in that one line there, so what I'm going to do is call file name, and then the first thing we will do is call, so file name is, we will call base name file path, and then we will say file name no_ext, right? So we can just pass this instead of this, and instead of this. So that just looks a bit cleaner. So the first thing we're doing is we're saying create a variable called file name, which is where we grab the name of the file with the extension. And then we create another variable called file name no extension, where we extract from the file name everything from the first character to the last character -4. So that should take out the HEIC, which is 4 characters long. And then we pass file name no extension instead of base name file path down here. So ideally this will work. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my PNG and my JPEG that we previously created. Then I'm going to rerun this file. I'll restart R, and then I will rerun the file so that I load that function. And then again, I'm going to call reformat_image, and then I'm going to paste in the name of the file, which is right here. And then again, we'll try this as a JPEG. So let's see what happens. So we have non-numeric argument to binary operator on file name. So let's take a look at that. This seems to be because we have our parentheses in the wrong place. So what we've done here is we have file name -4, but that's all contained in the nchar. So we just need to make sure that we close our brackets there, so that we say nchar file name then -4. Easily done. So let's rerun that. And then down here in the console, I'm just going to hit up a couple of times, rerun that. And then if we look in our file pane, we have image 5415.png without the .heic. And if I click on that file, there I am with Moss at the front, and at the back there I am as a .heic file. I did notice one thing here, and it's quite hard to see. You can see there are 2 dots in the file name. So the reason for that is because when we get the file name without the extension, we go back by 4, which means that we don't remove the dot, and then we add the dot here. So I think what we can do here is just when we have the paste 0, when we write the file, we don't actually need to include the dot. We can just say pass the file name with no extension, which will be the name of the original file with a dot, and then add the format. So okay, one more time. Let's rerun the file, and then down here in the console, I'm just gonna rerun that. Now you can see I have the .jpeg again, but it's not .jpeg, it's just .jpeg, and it's a smaller file. So that's pretty much it. We had a few errors that cropped up as we went along. This was pretty much live coding, but it's a fairly straightforward solution. A dozen lines which converts a .heic file to either a PNG or a JPEG with an option of resizing along the way. Feel free to use this code yourselves. I will link to the GitHub down below where you can use this. And yeah, thanks. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye.